Welcome to another edition of the Unsexy Businessmen podcast, where we talk about all things entrepreneurship and unsexy businessmen. I am unsexy businessmen. Who cares? Sometimes you make mistakes. I am Alex Skinner, as always, joined by my brother Aaron Skinner. And today, timely conversation as we're heading into the new year. Probably should have had this conversation a little sooner. If you haven't already done this conversation, this is a reminder for all of you business owners out there. Have your goals set. It's the beautiful time of year where the end is coming and we get to have a new rebirth with January 1st. So we want to go over setting goals. Aaron, when did you get very particular in setting goals? Was this like immediately or like, I'm the best goal setter in the world? Or when did it like dawn on you like, oh crap, I need to do this. I need to be better at this?
In the beginning, like if you don't have goals set, what are you doing? Like if you have no idea of like where you're going and how to get there, especially in business, you're just going to be kind of floated around and not knowing if you're accomplishing what you want to accomplish. And they can't be just like crazy. I mean, there can be some crazy goals. You should have some like long-term goals, but in the very beginning, like I noticed that if I didn't have that structure of goals, and then not just the goals, but we'll get into this, but how I was going to accomplish those goals, my business would have never grown the way it did. So it was very early on, probably within the first few months, I was like, I have to be setting goals and I have to be putting, what I need to do to actually accomplish those goals. Cause it makes no sense just to throw out random goals and be like, yeah, I mean, you don't want New Year's resolutions here, people. You don't want to be like, I'm going to lose 50 pounds and then have no process of how you're actually going to accomplish that.
Yeah, I think a lot of times too, where people get lost, and I've experienced this with clients, I've experienced this with friends, talking business related things, where they're not actually goals. So a lot of times when like they're doing this, it'll be like, we want to double revenue, we want to hire more people. It's like we're going to go over into the SMART process for creating goals. It's an acronym: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time bound. But if your goal is just like one word, two words, a sentence, it's probably not an actual goal, because you need to have some additional pieces of information in there to hold yourself accountable to being able to get those, as well as holding the team members that you are working with that are going to help you get those goals accountable to whatever their part in achieving that goal is. We could just like jump into like SMART goals, I think.
Yeah, let's do it.
That's going to simplify. Most people should already be familiar with this, but the SMART framework is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So going into specific, you want the exact outcome that you are aiming for, exactly what you want it to be. Hire one full-time cleaner by March to increase weekly capacity by 25%. Some people just say, like in this example I had before, grow my team. Aaron, any thought on being specific?
No, dude, you have to be specific. Like if you just say like grow business grow good, like what does that even mean? Like you have to have like your example is exactly what we would do. Like we need to have we need to hire another employee by this date because we're planning, and a lot of these goals kind of mesh with all the other goals. So if you're trying to grow your business, you're going to need to hire employees. You're going to need to, maybe get some new equipment or whatever it is. And so they're all synergistic. All your goals should be very synergistic. And so being very specific on what you're trying to do keeps you focused on actually accomplishing that goal. So you like get back to your example of hiring one employee by March, have them trained by, mid-March, and have them on their own by the end of March, whatever that is. You need to be as specific as you can, because then you can hold yourself accountable. If March 5th rolls around and you still haven't hired anybody, you clearly haven't achieved that goal, as opposed to like hire somebody in 2026. Like what When is that? Like, because you're just going to keep pushing that off and off and off with all the other crap that happens with running a business.
Or with the example that you gave, maybe you won't put it off and off and off, but like, all right, cool, I hired somebody. Now what? Like, so if you don't have the specificity built in, like Aaron was doing there, have them trained by X period of time, have them working a van by themselves by X period of time. You essentially just hire someone and you have nowhere, you're going nowhere with that. I like the specific part of it because that it starts off with specific, because specific then ties into all of these other pieces of the SMART framework. Because if you're just specific, you should, in theory, hit all of these other parts of the SMART framework. But number 2 is measurable. So in this example, what are the metrics that prove that you're winning? So measurable, 1 full-time cleaner. Great. So you can measure that you got that 1 full-time cleaner as opposed to saying hiring people. You know
Right.
that you're just trying to hire one.
Right.
Also in that first example, you have in order to increase weekly capacity by 25%. So if you know your operating revenue and we're doing $3,000 a month, the goal is to start doing, I have to do math now. Let's change it to $4,000 a month. That capacity by 25%, you know you need to move to be making $1,000. By week,
Sure.
weekly. Sorry, my monthly numbers. They need to be working on $1,000 worth of revenue right as they start working. So
Right.
having those numbers just makes things way, way easier.
Yes. Yes. And it goes, it's the same with, if we're not just doing employees, if it is, I want to make this amount of money. If you just say, I want to make $100,000 next year, like that's not obviously specific enough. If like, how are you going to do that? Like you have to break all these things down. And that's why the specific one is so important. If you want to make $100,000 next year, you're going to have to, well, how many clients is that going to be? How many employees are you going to need? How much training is going to go into that? There's so many things. Yeah, I agree, man. Yeah, specific is the most important part of this because if it's not specific, it's so easy just to I see it all the time where you just throw out these kind of big ideas with no timeline and nothing ever actually happens.
I do have good news, though. There are major companies that grow to very large numbers without setting SMART goals. So, but as much as the reason that we want you to do SMART goals is because you will be able to scale and grow faster. I'm going to share
Yes.
an example I've shared before. It's when I knew I was getting fired from my previous job. Our goal was $20 million in annual recurring revenue. I had been in my new position knowing that goal for about 6 months, and it finally dawned on me, how are we going to do this? And you want to know what the answers were? We need to sell more. So specific.
Yes.
So specific. We need to sell more. We need our account managers to upsell more. And that was it. That was how we were going to grow. That's how we were going to double our yearly recurring revenue in 3 years' time. Now, to be fair to those people, none of them have ever ran a business before. They're just doing the best that they can. So I think sometimes I come across like, oh, I would have been able to run that company. No, I probably would have done the same exact stupid thing where I'd just be like, I'm in this position now. You're supposed to have goals. Here's some goals. But
Well, especially where it's been successful in the past, right?
right.
Like they
So it
obviously
makes it
grew
easier.
it to it makes it easier. Like, well, we'll just keep doing what we're doing. We're making millions of dollars a year. Why would we change anything? I mean,
Right.
well, you could be making tens of millions or, hundreds of millions of dollars if you implemented this smart system.
And maybe or not that company has significantly decreased in the total amount of revenue that they have. I don't know. My guess is they have, and by guess, they have. So what frustrated me about that is I came with like numbers in it where I was just like, okay, going back to specificity and measurability here. The next thing is achievable. So as I am breaking down these measurable numbers, I'm just like, okay, this means that we need to do, like, there are a couple things that we can do here. We need to increase, what was our total? Is about a mil. Let's just use easy numbers, please. $1 million a month. I was like, okay, so we need to retain Instead of our usual 90%, we have to retain 95%. Because what that means is we'll only lose $50,000 in monthly recurring revenue. And then that eases the burden of the sales team to sale. So if we can improve our retention rate to 95%, we should be able to do this. Our sales, they do anywhere between in really good months, like $50,000 to $80,000 that they would add. So okay, we'll add $30,000 a month. But the A in SMART, is that attainable? 95% retention in an agency is, especially when you're dealing with numbers that large, is nearly impossible. So the conversation that I ended up having was like, the things that I can control is not possible. And then you get the answer like, oh, yes, it is. I'm like, we have never, ever done this. We have never once ever. And like, it's like the great lie whenever like not Dr. Oz, when the Wizard of Oz like has all of the numbers and like they hide a lot of those numbers for you. Like, oh yeah, like we have 90% retention. I went and looked like our actual retention numbers. Like we would retain about 80%, like in true money that went into our accounts. Cause that's what, there's a lot of people who didn't pay. They would get angry and they wouldn't pay, but we'd still count those in our monthly numbers until those people were kicked off after 6 months. And then at that 6-month mark, we'd have a really big drop. So it'd be like, oh my gosh, this month's retention was 80%. I'm like, it's been 80% for a while now. We've just been using these expected numbers to make us feel good. So attainable is like a very real thing. And it's something that if you have good leaders, they will understand what is and what is not attainable. And if you have bad leaders, and bad's probably not the right word, if you have scared leaders, people who are just trying to get by in their life, they're just gonna be like, nope, we have to do this. Like, we just got to sell more with no specific plans. I'll tell you what, how do I know it wasn't attainable? Because it was not attained.
It was definitely not attained.
And once again, we lost money.
And that goes back to specificity, right? Like, and that's why you have to be able to say how you're going to achieve those goals. We can go back to like an unsexy business where it's, you want to, if you just like, I want to hire 30 employees. So that way we're going to be making more money. Like, I mean, do you have enough business to employ 30 employees? Like what's your, and this is why, again, why all these goals are synergistic, is you need to make sure that your goals line up. It actually makes sense to, achieve. They're actually achievable. And nothing's more demotivating than if you're setting these like crazy unrealistic goals that you just weren't going to be able to accomplish. It's just gonna be like, oh, we only got 20 employees instead of 30. I'm a failure, or whatever it is. Like that's why it needs to be something that is actually achievable. And it's only going to be achievable if you have the plan in place. SOPs is definitely for one of them, not SOBs, SOPs. In order to be able to achieve a lot of these goals and actually scale your business.
Yeah, to be fair, like I am thinking from my corporate, like the corporate jobs that I've been in, and like a lot of my goal setting is for corporate jobs. But really, all of these apply. It really just comes down to if, then how. So if we want to do this, then how are we going to do it? And if there is a clear path, that this would be another recommendation I have, that you and somebody else verifies as being possible, not a yes man. Like, it cannot be a yes man. It has to be someone where like you are very honest and open with one another. And you both agree, maybe there's 3 of you, maybe there's 4, whatever that number is, that yes, this is attainable, do it. Because I know the reason that the goal I continue to bring up over and over was agreed upon was because it allowed for that person to get the promotion that they were promoted to. And you want what? I don't blame him. Maybe he had a smart goal going on where he's like, I want to be the most important person at this company. How do I do that? Say I can achieve goals that I can't achieve. So like, don't get me wrong, like everyone has their ulterior motives, but you as a business owner, you have one goal, and that goal is to grow your business to the lifestyle that you want to grow it to.
Right. Yes.
God. Next. 4, relevant. Make sure it's relevant to you. So, for example, becoming a YouTube influencer probably doesn't make sense for a lot of people on this, unless you can show a reason why. Like, if I become a YouTube influencer, I am going to get X, Y, and Z revenue from my YouTube channel. Understanding the cost of taking away time from your actual job to putting time into YouTube. I work with a client in the solar industry who has a very, very successful YouTube channel. Doesn't make a whole lot of revenue for them. It is monetized, but this was something that she just started doing a long time ago, and she enjoyed doing it. It really wasn't even to achieve business objectives. It was just because she really liked doing it, and like she loves solar that much. So there, as I'm saying, the YouTube influencer, like you shouldn't be going for that. Like it really just comes down to maybe you have your own personal life goals, and one of that is doing the YouTube thing. And maybe you have your business goals. You can have separate looking goals, but becoming a YouTube influencer probably doesn't make sense for whatever business all y'all are running right now.
Yeah, make sure that it is aligned with whatever your business. Yeah, like if you're a window cleaner, you're not going to be like, and then my goal for this year is to be really good at wood carving. Like, I mean, of course, you
Right.
have personal goals, but if we're talking about we are talking about your business goals. So make sure it's something that is very specific and that is going to actually help build your business. I mean, I don't know if we'd run into a lot of people that would do that, like when you're trying to set goals. I assume this one, the relatable, is going to be the one that is probably the most obvious. Like, yeah, why would I set a goal to be good at wood carving if I'm a window cleaner? So yeah, but just, and then relatable is also, again, synergistic. Make sure a lot of these goals relate to the other goals that you have.
Yeah. Like, I don't, maybe this is too reductive, but shouldn't any business, like, how does it impact revenue or better yet, how does it impact profit? At
Yes.
the end of the day, if you are a business, your goal is to make as much money as possible. Now, I'm sure there's some people who are like, well, businesses should give back, tax the rich, tax the 1%, and all of that stuff. Maybe in my experience, anytime any company does anything out of the goodness of their heart, it is to somehow get more money.
Yeah.
Whether it be a tax deduction or whether it be this is us getting in front of way more people because we invested this $10,000 with this charity.
Hmm.
And now we get to rub shoulders with some of these other people who can now become clients or something of that nature. So
Good PR.
as long as it's going back to revenue, like, am I crazy with that? Like anytime I make goals, it's
Everything
always
should.
like to increase profitability.
I mean, that's the whole point of business, is to be profitable, unless you're running a nonprofit, I guess. But yeah, that's all it is. Like all these goals should be, the different goals you're setting are always going to be how it's going to increase your revenue. And listen, if you want to have a goal of like, and I want to be able to donate, $15,000 to my favorite charity, guess what? You still have to have
You
goals
need
of how
money.
you're going to make that money
Yeah.
in order to do that. So I'm all for like charitable things like that. I think that's great, and you could do it for whatever reason. If you want to just do it because you're a good person and that's kind of like your thing. I had a goal, dude. This is when I was at the call center. My goal was to, and this was before it was cool. This was like 15 years ago. My goal was to be able to go to like a diner or whatever and just find like a good waitress that was like during the holiday season that looked like maybe she was struggling, or if I found out she was struggling, and be able to give her $1,000. Like I had this like giant, and then it became just a thing on YouTube where people just do that all the time now, just for the
And
clout or
and
whatever.
record it. Yeah.
Yeah, I had zero interest in recording it. I had
Best type
all
of
the
charity
interest.
is the public kind.
Yeah, and it was one of those things. This isn't like toot my own horn, but I just always thought it'd be cool to be able to help somebody like that. So if that's again, but what did I have to do in order to be able to give somebody $1,000 tip? I had to get clients. I had to have employees. I had to make sure that I was making enough money where giving somebody $1,000 wasn't a burden on me at all. And so that kind of stuff. And then also like being able to I wanted to be able to give employees great bonuses. And I was able to achieve that because I was of through all of the goals that I had set and achieved, I was able to get to the point where I could give my top performers, my top employees, give them $5,000 at the end of the year. And I loved being able to do that.
Yeah. And then end of the year, last thing, time bound for the SMART framework. Easily, it's because it gives you a legitimate benchmark. Just like, okay, we're going to do this by X date. That very first specific example I gave, I loved because it was mine. No, just kidding. The specific example I gave, because it had every single one of these pieces
Yes.
of the framework by
Yep.
March. I've been in a lot of planning and goal setting sessions, and a lot of times this one is missed. It's like, we need to have it by X date. And it's honestly just human nature where it's like, we're scared to be held to a benchmark, so we don't want to hold other people to a benchmark. I remember one planning session, somebody was like, I want to, that's going to be too specific. I want to learn how to use Monday.com. Cool. Well, first off, why? How is that going to impact whatever? But and all of us were like a little bit nervous, and then finally, our leader, who never gives time bound goals, was like, "All right, so when are you going to be an expert in that by?" Just like, "Thank you." Okay, yeah, no, I've
Yes.
talked bad about that person that I'm giving as an example right now. I was very happy when he did that, when he's like, "All right, when will you become the expert by?" Just like, because that's what you have to do, and I think it holds everybody accountable to something that you have agreed upon. It's almost like a contract that you're making with all of the people you're working with, where you're like, I will become an expert at this. It's still not a great, I don't think become an expert's a very specific goal, but like, I'm going to become an expert of this by April 1st. Like, okay, cool.
Sure.
We're going to check in April 1st. Let's see how you did.
And that's the other thing too, and I guess it's part of the SMART acronym, but it's not. Be written down somewhere and written
Hmm.
down somewhere where you can see it on a regular basis. That's what I did. I mean, it's like kind of the classic. I had my whiteboard with all the goals on there, and I would look at it every day. And then next to it, I had my own quote. You guys can use this. I don't know if somebody else did this, but this is the quote that I gave myself was, what did you do to achieve your goals today? What are you doing tomorrow? So that's like always looking at those goals. And because they're specific and you have like a plan of action, you should know what you're doing every day to achieve the goals that you are setting. And so that you can accomplish them by the time bound goal that you've given yourself. And so you definitely have to have them written down, and it has to be something you could see on a regular basis.
Yeah. Check in. Yeah. Yes. This goes into like the next little bit that I want to talk about, which are like the different type of goal categories. I feel like
Mhm.
we've touched on a lot of them, but I want to just say them explicitly. Revenue goals, revenue, profit, margins, how much you're going to make per hour, how much you're going to charge per hour, yada, yada, yada. Capacity goals, how many people you need, the different equipment that you might need to purchase this year. Are we going to need to hire subcontractors to be able to fulfill on some of this work? Operational goals, so standard operating procedures, which we've talked about a lot. Are we going to get a CRM? How are we going to, what is the process for getting reviews, scheduling tools, different types of software we may need to purchase this year? Marketing goals, what your lead targets are, ad budgets, upgrades to your social media, to your website, whatever it may be. And then your own personal goals, cutting low value workout, protecting your weekend, building systems so that you can do less, how you're going to delegate, hiring somebody to take on more of the roles and responsibilities that you have. Those are like the main ones that I can think of. But a lot of times, I've already said this. If you have just a profit and revenue goal, this capacity goal, operational goal, marketing goals, and owner personal goals, all of those are going to tie back into that in some way or another.
Yeah. And and maybe you said it in all of the goals you're saying, or like new services that you're going to offer.
Mhm.
Like, and again, that ties back into revenue. Like there's a million different goals that you can, and types of goals that you can do or you can set for yourself. And yeah, they all tie back to, because that's why we're in business, people. We're in business to make money.
It is probably better to write stuff down, but I've noticed, and this is like me tooting my own horn right now. So everyone get ready for an Alex thinks he's awesome thing right now. Sometimes eventually you just start doing things too. Like you like have almost like you become the goal. Like I'm thinking about
Yeah.
this payment processing thing that we were talking about before we hopped on, where I'm just like, we lost $12,000 to payment processing. I want to get that number cut in half. I went and found a person who can cut our payment processing in half. We are going to change the way that we also invoice our clients in order to lose less of that money.
Well, that's a great point, man. Sorry to cut you off. You keep going.
Nope, that's it.
Like your goals, dude, your goals shouldn't just be January 1st. That's what I'm setting goals. I'm not doing anything else for we have
Yeah.
our goals. We can't adjust these goals. Like if you're noticing something or like you've accomplished your goals quicker than you had expected and your revenue's up higher than, dude, adjust the goals. Like you could move the goalpost. Literally, like, well, not literally, figuratively. You could move the goalpost and you could make your goals even better than you wanted. You shouldn't just be like, well, we reached the goals for this year. I'm coasting the rest of this year. No, you should definitely be once you've gotten to whatever goal you've hit, make another one and then make another one and then make another one. And if you're noticing some inefficiencies somewhere, that's yes, make a goal, have a plan, fix that inefficiency. And that's exactly what you did, Alex, with the whole payment processing thing. It's like I noticed something that was insanely inefficient and very costly. I want to fix this. I'm going to figure it out. This is what I'm going to do. And you didn't wait. It's like, I'm going to fix this January 1st because that's when we set our goals and that's when things can be fixed.
And if we set our goal, if we would have done that, we wouldn't have been able to invoice until February. So we would have lost another $2,000 to $3,000.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Needlessly.
Financial based. It's always financial based for me. It's like,
Yes.
how do I make that money back?
It's financial based and it's financial based and it's also kind of what we talked about, like time based. Because if you're hiring people to help you with a lot of the processes that you're doing, if you're hiring a manager or something like that, that's going to be someone who's going to save you personal time, and that's as a business owner is extremely valuable to have that free time.
Yeah, and then the last thing that I'd want to hit on, like about goals, is like you also need to set check-ins. There's this thing by Franklin Covey that I really liked. I forget what it's called off the top of my head right now, but essentially you'd have your lead measures and lag measures. So lag measures are like the results of what you did, and your lead measures are like the things that you're going to do to accomplish your lag measures. And if I have that backwards, I apologize.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Set
So
a goal
you
that
have
you don't
to,
get it backwards next time.
yeah. So you have to, um, have like, you have like your giant goal. Like we would do it in quarters, where it's like, all right, our goal is this. How is everybody going to do this? And every week is like, what is the most important thing you could be doing this week that's going to help us achieve that? Once again, I don't think we had enough accountability in those meetings that I was a part of to like force people to do those things, nor did we have the leadership in place to properly execute it, even after our 3-day training that we did to like do it. But having that one thing per week is going to, I always make this story up. So hopefully I'm not incorrect with this, but I read one time that the word priority was never meant to be plural. So whenever somebody says these are the priorities, they are using the word wrong. You should only ever have one priority. The one thing that you can, and you can use other words if you want, like I have multiple goals, fine. Goals aren't held to this singularity, but the one thing every single week that you can do, and then follow up the next week with someone, keep yourself accountable, then follow up with someone. Like it's all of these micro goals over that quarter time that's going to allow you to hit whatever those other goals that you have are. And then do a quarterly, how did we do? Did all of these weekly things lead to the success that we were hoping to see? If not, what are we going to change? If yes, how are we going to change? And what are we going to keep the same? Because maybe you want to increase even more than what you saw in that quarter. So it really just comes down to I think this is the most important thing to me. It has to be one, because otherwise you're chasing a bunch of different things. Like just going back to the payment processing thing, I've been thinking about this a lot. Started the onboarding process on, was it yesterday?
Yes.
Started the onboarding process yesterday. We are now set up today.
Yep.
So like that was the priority for the week. Now what's the next thing? I'll do some different goal for next week.
Yeah, and dude, and just having someone that can hold you accountable is so powerful. And whether that be another business partner or a significant other or a friend, like let people know what your goals are. And this is really important with, I say, all goals. Like even if like you're like, I'll give you mine and that has nothing to do with work. It's like trying to like get in better shape. If you're like, I want to be in better shape. First of all, that's a very vague term. What does that even mean? Better shape doesn't mean anything. But if you could say, I want to lose 40 pounds by the end of this year, and I'm going to do this, this, and this, but then you also tell somebody that, and you tell that person, hold me accountable. I'm going to do my weigh-ins. I'm going to do my whatever. And you, if I'm slipping, I want you to call me out. And you should do that with business. Be like, hey, I want to have this person hired by whenever it is. And again, it doesn't have to be even a business. I mean, it'd be best if it was a business partner. But if it's just someone else that understands business that you can talk to, and they're like, hey, hold me accountable to this. Obviously, it's not their responsibility to hold you accountable. But if you know in the back of your mind, hey, Josh is going to ask me about that hire that I was supposed to have in March. I want to make sure that that's taken care of. Whatever keeps you motivated, I guess, to get those goals accomplished in the time that you had set. Use any strategy that you can to keep yourself motivated to get those goals accomplished. So I think using other people to kind of to hold you accountable is a great way to do that too.
Yeah. It's very helpful. I'm not disagreeing with Aaron, but you should also be able to hold yourself accountable.
No, yeah,
Like,
100%.
yeah.
100%.
I'm not disagreeing. It's like it is way more helpful when somebody else knows and can like keep you accountable to that thing. Yeah. So both.
Yeah, in all honesty, if you can't do it without having someone hold you are the business owner, you should definitely be holding yourself accountable the entire time. I just more mean as a strategy.
No, I agree. Yeah, I agree with you.
To keep you
I didn't,
whatever strategy is going to help with keeping your goals getting accomplished, like use those. But yeah, definitely don't just rely on somebody else. Like, I didn't accomplish that because Josh never reached out and asked me about that at hire I was going to have in March. So that's on you, Josh. I told you, you're supposed to check in. You never checked in. So yeah, 100%.
For some reason, that reminds me of David Goggins. You're a pussy if you listen to music while you work out. It's like, seriously? You should be able to do it by yourself. All right, sounds good, David.
I listen to our podcast while we're working out.
Any other goal setting stuff? So we switch over to some listener advice questions.
I don't want to get too deep into this, but you should have short-term, mid-term, and long-term goals. So you should have your goals that you have for the first few months, or maybe the first month of the new year. You should have goals for the first 6 months. You should have goals for the 5 years, 10 years, like of what you want to accomplish. And it's all the same strategy though. Like it needs to be the SMART method. You still have to be specific, still has to be measurable, still has to be an asshole, still has to be really cool.
Careful with the R word.
I know, dude. I was close. and totally
attainable,
awesome.
relevant, time bound.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, it still has to be all of those things, but you should have short-term, mid-term, long-term goals. 100%.
Yeah,
that's my last thing.
For anyone who like, I always just use the word in Spanish. I just say retrasado. Anytime I want to say an R word, I say retrasado, and no one in Spanish.
And that means beautiful in Spanish.
Oh, it just means delayed. So
yes,
or I think the first time I heard it, someone was talking about a retaining wall. Is that what it was? Like I was like, what's that word? And then I went like on the deep dive. I'm like, oh, I've been looking for this word. No, just kidding. Been looking for this word for years.
Oh, well,
All right.
when we were learning Spanish and I was in when I was in Bolivia and I was trying to ask someone, how do you say if you're annoying someone? Like, oh, it's molestar. I was like, no, not
Whoa.
that.
That's not what I want to
Not
do.
that. I'm talking about when you like, yeah, molestar. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to say
That.
that.
Yeah.
There's got to be a better word.
You are molesting me.
Yes.
Which, like, when you
Hey,
kind of think about it,
yeah,
kind of makes sense.
yeah.
And that was a new segment where Aaron and Alex talk about Spanish.
And
All
we
right.
teach you Spanish.
Teach you Spanish. But moving into listener submitted life advice. Mobile detailer who can't keep up. I read this one. I was like, this is when the David Goggins came out of me. I was like, stop being a pussy. Hey, Alex and Aaron. I run a one-man mobile auto detailing business in Phoenix. I'm booked out about 2 weeks, which sounds great, but I'm drowning. I'm working 12 to 14-hour days. I'm behind on invoicing, and half the time I forget to ask customers for reviews. I want to grow in 2026, but I have no idea what goals I should actually be setting when I can barely keep up as it is.
Hire someone.
I know. Yep. Just hire someone. Hopefully,
Hire
actually
someone.
one. If we want to give real advice, standard operating procedures for everything that you do as quickly as possible. Going back to that 1, 2, 3, 4, like one goal per week. Each week, it should be a standard operating procedure that you're creating. But while you're making those, you can still hire someone in the process so that you're not.
It should be
working
part
that
of your SOP.
Yeah.
It should be your SOP. It should be including hiring people. Like you have to have that in your SOP if you ever want to scale your business. So, dude, if you're drowning, first of all, congratulations. That's awesome that you're 2 weeks out. You should be pumped for yourself that you've built a successful business. Go hire somebody, and watch our videos on how you do that successfully.
Yeah. I don't think I have much more than that. Like, definitely
That's
hire
it.
somebody.
Hire somebody.
So simple. But hey, that's what we're here for.
But you wonder what? That's again. I love saying this. Great problem to have. Great problem to have.
Next one. Employee turnover is killing me. Hey guys, I own a small commercial cleaning
Hire
company
someone.
with 7 employees. My biggest problem is turnover. I hire someone, train them for 2 weeks, and then they disappear after a month. It's costing me time, clients, and a lot of money. I want to set goals around stabilizing my team, but I don't know what targets make sense or how to make them measurable. Would love your help.
Yeah, this was my issue. And it was because I was hiring stupid people. Again, this goes back to standard operating procedures. You need to put something in place of making sure you're not just hiring whoever applies. And that goes to as early on as the advertisement you're putting out there for who you're hiring. Make sure it's very specific on what they're going to be doing. Was this a cleaning company? I don't remember.
Yeah, commercial cleaning company.
Commercial cleaning. Yeah, you need to be very specific on what they're going to be doing. Another thing that can help too, that helped me, was doing exit interviews. When people are leaving, find out why. Dude, if you're just bleeding employees, find out why they're leaving and then fix that problem. My issue when I first started hiring people was that I would just hire whoever. Like I didn't care. I just needed bodies in there, whatever. Like if it was kind of sketchy, whatever, I just need somebody. My thing that I would tell myself is like, am I comfortable having this person come clean my house when I'm not there? Or even worse, am I comfortable having this person clean my house if I'm not there and my wife's home? So if you're not comfortable with having that person in your house with your significant other, with your children there, don't hire that person. That's all it really is. You're just running into hiring bad people. And it's probably because you're desperate because you just need the bodies, right? So if you are very specific in your advertisement with what the job entails, and you're really good about training them and making sure they're comfortable, if you're giving them kind of a path of where they can grow within the business, if you're getting to know them on a personal level, that helps as well. There's a ton of stuff that goes into hiring employees and keeping them around. But the main thing is, first of all, you need to find out why they're leaving. So ask everyone that's leaving why they're leaving and then fix that problem.
Yeah, I think this is a standard operating procedure thing
Yes,
where you need to
100%.
know hiring, firing, termination, training, et cetera, et cetera. Am I paying too little? Like,
That's
I think
exactly what I was gonna say.
Aaron's thing is like the most important. It's to the exit interviews. knowing why people are leaving. And then you can even talk to the people who are still there. Like, what don't you like about this job?
Yeah, absolutely. You should know that.
You
I
should
mean, there's
already
going to be
know.
parts of there are parts of the job that suck. They're like, what don't you like about this job? I don't know, cleaning toilets. That sucks. It's just like, but you're probably right. I was going to say that too. Like, is your hourly rate way too low? Because people, especially in that industry, are going to go to wherever they're paying the most. And that doesn't even mean like staying within the cleaning industry. If McDonald's is paying $4, $5 more an hour, why would they stay with you? And so make sure you're not underpaying your employees, but most importantly, find out what's going on and then build a business, kind of build an environment that people want to be around. So just positivity and like constructive feedback, gift cards, stuff like that. There's a ton of different things that you can do to help with that.
Talk to people in the industry. Like, that's one of my favorite stories from my time at my old company, where we were paying $10 an hour for interns, and we only hire the best at $10 an hour. And I went and spoke at this university, a good university,
Harvard.
and the main faculty there, he's like, all right, so like, what are you paying per hour? Like, oh, we're paying $10 an hour. He's like, our students can go get jobs for $18 an hour at McDonald's. Like, literally, he said that, can get jobs at McDonald's for $18 an hour. Why would they want to go work for your company? And then like you do like the bullshit thing of like, well, you know, they're getting experience and getting paid to get like that experience. He's like, I'm just going to be honest with you. I won't recommend anyone work at your company. And so then we went,
this was your former company.
Correct.
Okay.
Oh yeah. We don't spend $10 an hour. Yeah. Right. And so we've increased that rate. We increased that rate relatively quickly, not as high as I was hoping we would.
$12 an hour.
Yeah, it just goes back to like, if you're wondering how empires are created, it's on the back of very, very inexpensive labor. And Aaron and I try our hardest not to do that. Like,
correct.
Because that, like, once again, this goes back to my, who needs all the money?
Ask our employees. We're constantly giving bonuses and raises because they're awesome.
Yeah.
We love you guys.
Any other, I think that's any other advice? Like, I think that's just a simple,
that's the main one for that question.
Questions.
Yeah. You need to find out why they're leaving. And that's the main thing. And then SOPs and be more specific on who you're hiring. Be more, what's the word? It's not specific. Be more conservative.
I was going to say litigious. That's not the word either. But it's somewhere in that frame.
It's you know what I mean. Come on. I'm not a thesaurus.
Be more
I'm just a janitor.
Intentional. I can't think of a word. Anyways, well, thanks for the advice, everybody. Please remember to email us at unsexybusinessmen@gmail.com. And the next time we will chat with you next week. Have a great rest of the week and go make a lot of money. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Unsexy Businessmen. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review. Now go get to work.